Nintendo might be heading towards their downfall. A 9% drop in net profit and a 22% decline in Switch units sold confirms the end of its remarkable run. And despite making the second highest grossing movie this year, they've already fallen into a trap that many movie studios have fallen into over the past decade. Let's delve into some never-before-seen reasons why Nintendo is about to get wrecked. Long before the success of the Switch, Nintendo took a series of hits they arguably never recovered from. In the late 80s through the 90s, Nintendo was the big player with its Super Nintendo Entertainment System console. However, things got tricky for Nintendo when Sony's PlayStation entered the market 2 years before the Nintendo 64. The N64 couldn't compete with Sony's system for hardware reasons. PlayStation had this sleek design, modern game CDs that cost pennies to press, and thousands could be printed in the blink of an eye. And of course, really simple controllers. On the other hand, the N64 looked a bit blocky, still used cartridge which was a pain in the butt to develop games for, and it had those odd size-shaped controllers that many didn't like. For those of us that grew up with them didn't mind, of course, even though we rarely even used the D-pad. But the market don't give a damn what children think. The N64 was an absolute commercial bomb as it failed to reach even half of the 102 million units that PlayStation sold. Here's the thing, Nintendo struggles with the whole predecessor-successor thing. After the disaster of N64, Nintendo released the GameCube with the hope of outperforming PlayStation 2 and the newcomer, Microsoft's Xbox. But also due to various hardware and software reasons, including its appearance, microdisc support, and the company's overall immature perception on the online gaming potential, they lost to Sony and Microsoft again. However, things will slightly change after the release of the Wii, which pioneered motion controls and had this beautiful casual appeal that helped drive new audiences to their ecosystem. The Wii was a major success and considered to be the market leader of its generation, selling more than 25 million units, more than its closest competitor, Sony's PlayStation 3. But once again, their philosophy backfired as they released the successor of the Wii U. And let me tell you, this console was one of the few in history that people didn't understand its purpose at all. The confusion it created amongst the community was incredible. Nintendo put out a lot of focus on promoting the Wii U's gamepad in their marketing, which made some folks think the Wii U was more like an accessory for the regular Wii. Also, the name Wii U sounded too much like Wii, which added to the confusion, making gamers think it wasn't really a brand new console. They experimented with the dual screen concept, but neither of these innovations had a long-lasting success. While the Wii family achieved massive sales, its successor was, in all senses of the word, a flop. What I'm trying to say is, Nintendo has this huge follow-up gap. They don't seem to figure out how to launch a new, successful version of something that's already a hit. There's nothing they love more than messing with a good thing, just in the name of creativity. Sometimes this works out brilliantly. Other times we end up with things like the Wii U and GameCube. The Wii U flop was no doubt a disappointment for Nintendo, but it gave the company the ability to throw itself headfirst into the development of its next console to ensure its success. This brings us to the Nintendo Switch, the console that was an absolute success, at last. However, it wasn't due to just one thing, it's because Nintendo made a bunch of really smart choices, one right after the other. They were the first to notice a gap in the market for a system that could be both a handheld and a home console, and they capitalized on that opportunity. They held on to that spot in the market for a long time until other rivals, such as the Steam Deck, showed up. They created a cool hybrid design for the console that changed how we play games, and it didn't really even cost that much. They completely embraced indie games and developers upon its release as well. Moreover, the Switch is for everyone, not just one age group. It has first-party games available for both children and adults, many of which are multiplayer, so that parents can spend time with their children and engage in some of their interests. With these factors at play, the Switch has surpassed 125 million units sold, rescuing Nintendo from a potentially severe decline. But nobody stays at the top forever, and Nintendo knows this more than anybody else. The Switch's overall selling performance is in continuous decline. In fact, they went from selling 23 million units in 2022 to about 18 million in the first quarter of 2023. That's a massive 22.1% decline. These statistics suggest that the Switch is coming to the end of its remarkable career, which makes sense. This console has been on the market since 2017. The industry has evolved quite a bit, especially with powerful competitors like the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series S and X that are in full swing. The big question is, how will Nintendo follow up? Now, Nintendo is working on a Switch 2, which is rumored to be launched sometime in 2024. I'm really worried that Nintendo might come up with some super weird and crazy new console, which could make all of the Switch fans not want to switch to the next thing. It just makes sense to make the new console work with backward compatibility, both the digital and physical ones. The Nintendo Switch Online should keep going as it is, not starting all over again. These things seem like common sense, but let's be honest, it's Nintendo and they're known for doing things in a not so straightforward way. So what's gonna happen? Nintendo's pulled it off before, like going from the NES to the Super Nintendo or from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Advance. Sony did it too, going from the PlayStation to the PlayStation 2, but those are the exceptions. In the history of video games, there's a lot of companies that couldn't keep their fans for the long run. Let's also hope that they don't fail at continuing the momentum that their movie, The Super Mario Bros., has gathered thus far. If you haven't seen it already, it's an incredibly safe movie, fun, charming, and honestly pretty smart. I had a good time watching it. You should check it out. The execution shaping this movie was evidently well thought out, but what if Nintendo misjudges this achievement? Because I think they are. A mistake many movie studios have been making for the past 10 years or so is trying to copy the idea of a cinematic universe. Marvel's way of producing different storylines that are all connected was just too tempting for other studios to resist. So all of a sudden, every single movie had to be setting off spin-offs and follow-ups and all these huge crossover events. The tricky part is, doing what Marvel did isn't simple. And not everybody's going to be interested in whatever cinematic universe you're building. That's why it makes me cringe when people suggest making a Smash Brothers movie or a movie about Peach. And the worst part is, Nintendo is already working on their NCU, and that successful Super Mario Bros. Movie is the first film to begin the first phase of their NCU. More movies are going to follow, as there are about 8 phases in the planning. The franchise will expand to include comic books, web series, television series, miniseries, short films, and video games. Good lord. Exactly like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Honestly, it's a pretty lousy idea. It's likely not going to turn out very well because the Avengers had years of comic book stories to make their thing work. But let's take a look at some of those DC movies. Whether you're a Snyder fan or not, you cannot deny that Justice League did not please the general audience, myself included. Building a consistent world like that is hard, really hard. If you don't understand what people love about your brand from the start, it's the easiest way to fail. Nintendo has made these kinds of mistakes before. Do you remember the Animal Crossing amiibo? They didn't understand what fans liked about Animal Crossing New Leaf on the 3DS. And they ended up creating a weird Wii U board game and lots of amiibo figures that nobody really wanted. It's quite possible that Nintendo might look at the success of the Super Mario Bros. Movie and get some crazy idea that completely misses why it worked in the first place. Look, you can say what you want about the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but it was made with a lot of attention to detail. If Nintendo wants to keep being successful with their movies, they need to keep that level of care at top of mind. There's a lot of potential in brands like Star Fox, Zelda, Kid Icarus, and more for making fun, awesome movies, but trying to connect them all together, I don't think that's a good idea. Just don't. Or should I put it this way? Nintendo don't. Is Nintendo in trouble? Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on their ability to learn from their past mistakes. They've endured too many flops like the Virtual Boy, Wii U, and those long waits for Nintendo 64 games that by now they should have built some kind of strong immune system for this type of thing. Moreover, they're a clever company and they can manage whatever comes their way, yet they shouldn't need to. That's the point here. A downfall is completely avoidable, so let's just hope they're savvy enough to understand what the market wants and needs. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave us a like and hit the subscribe button. It will help me make more videos in the future. Also, check out these videos. If you want to keep watching some of our content, I'd highly recommend watching the video about Spotify's core issues with their business model. This is Shortary. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.